Hey Rockstars, I'm JB, expert salesperson and master presenter.
I'm the doctor, psychologist, and behavioral expert.
This is the Entrepreneur Mastery Lab podcast.
We're high-performance coaches that help service-based professionals and entrepreneurs take their skills to the next level.
70% of entrepreneurs fail, which is why every week we have real talk with real entrepreneurs to help ensure you are not one of them.
We're also the inventors of the Be Rich mindset,
where we rise to mastery,
inspire greatness,
celebrate knowledge,
and help others along the way.
So join us in the lab.
And now, on to the show.
Welcome back. I'm JB.
I'm the doctor.
I am really pumped, Doc. We got a great guest with us here today, Drew DiAlberto from HeadUpX Distribution, CBD Health Supplements. This guy I feel like he's done it all. He was a commercial lender for 15 years. He owned his own business for 8 of those years and jumped into the cannabis industry a while back with some equity raises to get it done too. So this guy has some real experience. He's since moved into the distribution model with cannabis. He's been doing it over 3 years now. He's a good buddy, a somewhat great golfer sometimes, and couldn't be happier to have you on board with us, Drew.
Thanks. I hit 2 good shots in a row today, so I'm a great golfer today.
Hey, you know what? Every day at a time, man. You own it.
Recency biased.
That's it. So, Drew, you know, having listened to our podcast, we always love to ask, well, how did you get to where you are today? Kind of what brought it? And especially you're like the hot industry, man. You're the sexy industry. This is a big deal. So cannabis, how'd you get to where you are? What prompted you to jump into it?
Yes, and you mentioned my lending background. I started in banking and then kind of graduated into commercial lending and got tired of not getting my loans done by the bank that I was working for. So I started, kind of throwing them over the fence to commercial loan brokers. And then I partnered with a couple of guys and resigned and started calling all my banker friends and, just basically saying, hey, you want to keep your deposits and your clients happy? Let me do the loans they can't do and we'll keep them in the bank for you. And, that's kind of the banker's business model is as long as you keep the deposits, it doesn't matter if the loans get approved. So we did that. And I kind of started getting known by doing that as the guy who can get the impossible deals done and cannabis deals in 2014 and 15. And I mean, marijuana, not hemp and CBD, where nobody was touching them. So, we looked at about 40, 50, 60 horrible projects. And then we found one that we thought we could sink our teeth into, but nobody would loan to them. So I had a couple of good mentors help me with a capital raise. And we wound up owning a little piece of marijuana company out in Alaska, of all places. And then started going to trade shows and learning more about the industry and found CBD to be one of the dirtiest industries of all time because supplements are a dirty industry to begin with. And now this, add on the stigma that it's marijuana and it's going to get you high. And CBD had a big red X over it, banks, merchant services, et cetera. And, we tried a bunch of them and none of them had anything good until this one company out of Colorado that we were looking to fund said, hey, you know what, try these products. And all of a sudden my herniated disc in my neck didn't hurt anymore. And I was sleeping deeper and better and waking up great, not like if you take Z-Quil or one of those sleep drugs that are prescription. And I'm like, man, I think this actually works. It might be as good as they say. And my best friend has Crohn's and he was taking chemo. He was in a bad situation taking chemo for his Crohn's. He started taking the CBD instead of the chemo. And all of a sudden, he called me 12, 13 days in, my joint pain's less. I'm sleeping pretty well. The chemo's wearing off. I feel phenomenal. And I called the manufacturer and I'm like, listen, I think you just, really saved my best friend because he was not himself anymore taking chemo. And, I'm ready to fund you. And he goes, sorry, Drew, you're late to the party. We just got $2 million from a global fund in the UK. We don't need you anymore. And I said, that's a damn shame because I was ready to private label your products and sell them to everybody because I think they're that good. And he goes, well, hold on, don't hang up. That's our business model. And, of course I had the expletive moment of, oh crap, what did I just tell this guy I can do? But fortunately, in our investor group that had funded the marijuana project and one other project in supplements, had the expertise that I didn't. Because, when it comes to sales, business development, networking, vision, et cetera, like that's where I like to live. But, we had people that knew e-commerce and various different things about distribution that I was like, well, yeah, what, if you guys want to do this with me, the product's amazing. And 90 days later, we launched our first brand, which is hennepx. Hennepx.com is our website. Same thing on social media. We're easy to find. Hennep is the Dutch word for cannabis, and we wanted to make it look like RX because we're replacing a lot of prescription drugs. So, and then it evolved from there.
That's awesome. You know what I love about it, Drew? If I were to sum it up, like like from a 50,000 foot view, it's like where Passion Ave and Talent Street intersect, bro. Because you took your talents from the lending side, everything you had learned, and you found something that you were really passionate in and you believed in, and you're able to freaking run this awesome model off of it. And that's cool. So that's been 3 years now you've been doing this, like on the distribution side.
Yeah, on the distribution side. And we started out slow. I mean, we were selling it basically myself and my business partner, who owns a pest control company, but he's a scientist and he's got distribution experience. Basically we were like, hey, we'll buy some and then we'll put labels on it and we'll sell it to people that we know and they'll like it and they'll give us reviews. And then that led to, hey, my chiropractor wants to sell CBD, or my physical therapist or my acupuncturist, or, they're looking for ways to help their patients. And then all of a sudden, COVID shut the world down on March 13th last year for us. And we had 17 events canceled. We were going to promote our brand at health events. We were going to promote our golf brand at golf events, charity events. I think I was actually sponsoring your Penn State event for the golf tournament that you were running before. That was one of the 17 events that got shut down. So fortunately at that time, our chiropractor and physical therapist, who was one of our first, if not the first retailer that we signed on board, told us he wanted to create a brand for athletes. So now all of a sudden, we brought on a graphic artist and we started and a marketing expert, and we started creating brand for him. And, he's a well-connected guy. He happens to do work on the Indianapolis Pulse up in Indiana. And now he's basically our distributor out there for Megacore CBD, which is a brand he helped us vision and then we created for him. So that's kind of been the business model since last year, because we've created 6 other brands: a home healthcare agency, a physical therapist that's in Hialeah that wanted a Latin brand. So we created a Latin brand around what he wanted to market. And we really kind of morphed last year into a true distribution company versus retail. So now we have both. We have the retail sites and then we have the distribution side, which is the side that I mainly run.
Marijuana distribution has taken on a whole new meaning.
Except I don't sell any marijuana. I have no drugs. I'm supplements only. And that's important for me to tell you, because people get very disappointed if they're the people that want the marijuana. So, I spent
and I know some of our listeners, so I wanted to make sure that you had that chance.
And I appreciate it, because I spent the first year of this business convincing people, including my dad and my uncle and, other people that are anti-THC, that I don't sell any drugs. I'm not a drug dealer. Don't let the beard fool you. I don't have dreadlocks. Like, I'm not a drug dealer. So, it's one of those things that it was an interesting first year. That and the merchant services and banking issues were, a roller coaster. But the second year, it was more, will I pass a drug test if I take these products? That became the new question of, do you sell drugs?
And on the positive side, I know when I was looking at purchasing a business a number of years ago, I was looking at out in California at some dispensaries, and I really did not like the idea of having to build a safe room in my backyard to store the cash. I'm guessing you can actually use the banking system when it's CBD.
Yeah, there's over 400 banks and credit unions that'll bank hemp companies. Not marijuana. I don't know about how many will bank marijuana, but marijuana is not even a glint in our eye in Florida, because there's 4 companies that basically own the whole industry. And unless you guys want to lend me $200 million, we're not getting into marijuana anytime soon in Florida.
How's an IOU?
I don't know that the people that we have to pay to get that done, the attorneys, the political figures, etc., to get that done will take an IOU. I doubt it.
Do you think JB was going to be able to do that when he just landed that terrible, on a positive note, pun without any kind of reaction?
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, listen. I'll take your IOU, JB, because I love you, but I don't think the powers that actually have the opportunity to give you a marijuana license in Florida are going to take your IOU.
Yeah, you're probably right. We're not that buddy with them. I want to click on something here because my world, my background, as some of you may know, is wholesale. Yeah, I worked the wholesale model in financial services for over a decade. I am a just huge believer in the wholesale and the distribution model that you've really embraced here, Drew, with HennepX. And I don't know that all our listeners really understand what that is versus retail. And I'm sure it's kind of a shift in how you run the business too, on the distribution versus retail. So I don't know if I were to describe it, I'd say, retail is I'm going to one consumer at a time or a group of consumers at a time. When I talk wholesale distribution, I'm going to a center of influence. I'm going to somebody who is going to then be in front of a ton of people themselves. So I am moving up the food chain in a lot of ways when I move that wholesale distribution model. Is that kind of the experience you've had on your end too?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a business to business guy because of the commercial lending side. So, I'm used to working with businesses. I am a business owner. Business owners understand other business owners. You and I both do a lot of networking, so we know, networking on the golf course, golf networking group, maybe a BNI group. I mean, there's all different types of things where you can. And yeah, the idea was, hey, you know what? Chiropractors and physical therapists are the people I want to be friends with. If they like me and they like our product, they're going to want to do business. And then, basically we wholesale them, 10, 15, 20, 30 products at a time. And then they say to their clients, hey, you know what? We've been testing these products. They work really well. You should try it. And then they can sell it to their clients to help them with whatever their problems are: arthritis, sleep, injuries, surgeries, all different types of things. I mean, CBD is a natural anti-inflammatory. It helps with REM sleep, and there's a host of other things, but those are the two biggest things: pain and sleep. And arthritis is constant pain that we have, consistent clients that sing our praises, give us testimonials, refer us other clients. And yeah, the wholesale model is great because they're, you trust your chiropractor. If your chiropractor says, hey, this product's amazing, you'll buy it. And then once people buy it once, that's it. I mean, it works so well that we have a 97% recidivism rate. So it's the only thing I've ever sold in my career that you got to sell it once and then it does the rest.
It's interesting how much of our favorite word again, pivot, not that you just have to make, but the whole industry made. And I think what I really take a lot when I hear this, and we were talking about change a couple of weeks ago on the podcast too, people's opinions on things change and what becomes more acceptable, and the stigma that's attached to it. Working in mental health, the stigma is still attached to it. But it's lessened in a lot of ways over the years, and it's become more acceptable to go to therapy. It's been more acceptable to talk about it out loud on TV, sports athletes talking about actually going through that stuff. And I think that's probably something you probably face in your field a lot. Just the pure fear is turning into now people are opening and willing of all ages to be more open to that idea.
I mean, I mentioned my dad earlier. My dad is 66 years young, and he's got some arthritis in his knee, and he's got almost like a trick knee, like kind of weird thing going on from, sports and all different types of wrestling with us when we were kids. And it took me a year to convince him to put a little topical cream with CBD in his knee, and now he's a walking testimonial of how great our cream is. So, you're right. It's an education process. It's hey, look, this can help you. It's not going to get you high. You're not going to fail your drug tests, which I can't say without giving the FDA disclaimer. So I don't know if you want to put that in the notes or whatever, but we'll have an FDA disclaimer so we don't get the FDA knocking on my office door one day.
They are big listeners to the podcast.
Well, I was going to say, wow, we're going to be a lot more popular. Maybe we keep it out.
That's right. Keep it out. Then, it's okay. It's okay. Now we have all the FDA disclosures and the QR codes and stuff on our products. So we follow the rules because we're doing it the right way. And most of the people ask me like, oh, what's different about your CBD? And well, it actually has CBD in it, and whatever's on the label is in the bottle. And I didn't realize how dirty the supplement world was until I got involved in it. But, I use the analogy of you go into a Whole Foods or a Trader Joe's and there's a wall of protein bars. And half of the protein bars have more sugar and fat than protein in them, but they still call them protein bars. 30% of what's left have more fat than protein, 20% of and then there's, have 20% have more or more sugar than protein. And then the last 10% are actually true, real. Okay, you're going to get more protein than sugar and fat if you eat this product. So it's just a bizarre situation. So it is what it is, though.
Yeah, you know what, man, I can appreciate that. I love TJ's. I went in there a month or so ago with my wife to go shopping, and I needed more protein bars. I actually really like Lara Bars, which are, just 3 or 4 ingredients typically each, natural fruit. And, it's all natural, but
open for sponsorship.
Yeah. Hi, Lara Bars. Nice to meet you. I could use a little discount on the product. It's pricey, but I spent 30 minutes while my wife shopped in TJ staring at all the protein bars, and I couldn't find one I was willing to buy. I mean, seriously, I'm not joking. They had a lot, and there was none I was willing to buy because of that. And the supplement market is nasty because you don't even know quality control from like one supplement in a bottle to another, whether you're getting, even remotely close to the same amounts of whatever you're looking to get.
Right.
So it's really interesting. You're juggling a lot, bro. You got a lot going on. Your retail and your wholesale. So you're carrying a lot in your bag.
I do have a really good team around me. I mean, from my COO, my business partner, my investor group is super supportive of everything we do. They'll be the ones sharing this podcast on their social media and getting exposure for the company and things like that. So, we've got a business development guy to complement me. We've got a guy who does operations. My cousin is my assistant. She handles a lot of the day-to-day work. So, I can't say that I'm the only guy that's doing this, but yeah, we're working on a lot of things. We're actually creating, I think 4 brands right now. So we actually had to outsource some of that work now because we had just client after client after client, and people are kind of coming out of the woodwork after a rocky 2020, and we've seen our business go on a roller coaster, and then now it seems like we're kind of trending out of that. So I'm like, listen, bring them all on. If they're good people and we want to work with them and they want to work with us, that's, we're not turning anybody away just because we're busy.
Fantastic, man. Talk to me about the concept for a second, because you got so much you're working on. Project management. I don't think we've tackled this topic in the podcast yet. 7 months into the podcast, we have yet to talk about project management specifically. How do you juggle it? I mean, you just shared some of the ways I think you do it, but in regards to project management, what tips or tricks or techniques, what insight can you offer to our listeners around that?
I mean, it's kind of basic, but constant communication with your team and with your client. So I know this is like business 101 probably for most people that listen to this podcast, but it really does help to say, hey, look, this is the process. This is what we're going to do. If we meet these deadlines, it's going to be because we're getting constant feedback from you guys. Because, when you're creating basically what we're doing for this home healthcare agency up in Sunrise is we're creating something they've already created with their brand and logo that they're adapting to CBD so that they can sell CBD as part of their practice. They help people that just had plastic surgery recover faster. So we're giving them all the tools, but our graphic artist is handling the heavy lifting on that. And then it's just on me to say, hey, listen, guys, we really need some feedback on these proofs because we can't build your labels and get your products labeled without your feedback. So as long as you set clear expectations and then follow up, but you literally have to follow up like a robot. It's got to be automatic almost. So that's the only thing that I can give for advice is the follow-up is everything. It's just like you, Josh. Like if I don't hear from you for a few weeks and then I call you and I say, hey, listen, you know what? I got an idea. We should go grab breakfast and do this. And then all of a sudden we're having breakfast and doing whatever we thought. Or not. Maybe it's a horrible idea and you have to be strong enough to tell me, listen, Drew, that's not going to work for me. You need to find somebody else to run with this idea or not. So, you know, tell me the truth, do what you say, return my phone call. I'll work with you forever. We'll be best friends. I'll refer you business. Anybody that can't meet those 3 criteria, we got to move on.
I heard one of my favorite words, communication. It's nothing that we ever talk about in therapy or in business or in coaching.
Right, especially not marriage counseling, for sure not.
Couples spend a lot of time with that. But in the business world, specifically communication and doing that amongst a team, as you said, your team keeps growing and they're all vital for you. Do you use any certain tools to communicate? How do you guys stay in communication?
Telegrams for sure.
We like using WhatsApp because I am not an email guy. I'd rather get it right on WhatsApp and then say, hey, you know what? We've got a group we got a WhatsApp group for this company that we're creating something for. We got a WhatsApp group for this company. We got a WhatsApp group for, and then if I don't answer right away, because like today I was at a charity golf thing for the city of Sunrise, and you know there was messages going back and forth, but somebody on my team said, oh, you know what? I know Drew's not answering, even though they're asking him. Here's the answer. So it definitely, and we also use Pipedrive. You know, I like that as my CRM. It's really user-friendly. I've used many different CRMs in different banks that I worked for in, and other industries. And, you know, I'm not a affiliate for Pipedrive or anything, but that's what we use. So I'll just give you that gem. I was recommended, actually, a buddy of mine named Matt Kaplan, who I think Josh knows as well. He's on the ambassadors group and the young professionals of First Tee of Broward with us. And he told me about Pipedrive 2 years ago, and I started using it, and I like it. I'm a sales and business development guy, so I don't really love CRMs, but this one's pretty easy.
So I heard First Tee, I heard Pipedrive, and then I heard Drive kept coming up to me, in T kind of all goes together. And then that made me think, I heard you say something about golf earlier. You have something else going on, right?
Yeah, I may be a golf addict. I got a problem. I mean, I don't drink too much. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't do drugs. I don't cheat on my wife, but I really like playing golf.
So much that I heard you're going to do something like 100 times.
Yeah. So last year I got tapped by First Tee of Broward to be the chairman of the 100-hole challenge, which is we play 100 holes of golf in one day, and we use it as a fundraiser for the charity. So it was pretty cool. Like last year was my first year doing it, and also being the chairman. But you know, we won't go into the story, but it was a hurricane of circumstances that I got tapped to step up. And my buddy Charlie and I played. I had my son Nick, who's 11 at the time. He's 12 now, with me the whole day, riding in the cart, driving us around. And we played 101 holes in one day. It took 11 and a half hours. There were 42 golfers, if I remember correctly, and we raised about $93,000 for the charity. And I got my picture in the sunset and all, and that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Doc, who's crazier, the guy that'll do a marathon, or the guy that will do 100 holes of golf in a day?
You know, it's funny you should ask that, because right before I got in a car accident 9 years ago that messed me up, I was training for the ING marathon in Miami, and I never got to run it because, you know, the car accident messed me up. So I didn't really run too much after that, and I still haven't gotten back to it. It's basically like golf and golf and golf is my exercise nowadays. So my son is into boxing now and getting into some martial arts, so I'm sure that I'll have him kicking my butt around the house, because he's already 5'3", 140 pounds at 12.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a big kid.
To answer your the crazier person is the one that is doing the marathon with backpack in the sand?
I gotta say, running a marathon's got to be harder than 100 holes. I mean, we had guys 65, 66, 68, 70 years old that, and they're not old guys, because in Florida you're not old till you're 90 if you don't want to be, but they're 65, 66, 68, and they did the 100 hole, 90, 95, 100 holes. The year before that, they had it as a play as many holes as you can in one day. And I think the one guy who's the director for First Tee, Jack Bloomfield, played 130 something holes or something crazy like that. So I don't know. 101 was enough. We wouldn't have played the 101st, but we were going to end on 17. And there's 18 holes on a golf course for, anybody who's not a golfer. So my son looked at me and Charlie, and he's like, "You guys are going to play the last hole?" And we were like, "Yeah, we're going to play last." Of course, like, we didn't care. Like, we had already played 100. What's one more?
Not to mention, I mean, at least playing golf, there's some fun to that. There's some joking around. You're having a good time out there. I don't think anything of running a marathon with a backpack on is fun. That's just me.
I talk to myself a lot. I had a lot of good conversation with myself. A lot of swearing going on in that conversation.
Well, our buddy Nicole is going to do the 100 holes this year too, so from our marketing company with us. So we're looking forward to having her out there.
Former podcast guest.
Yeah. So this is why we all get along, though. I mean, truly, it's just different kind of crazy. It's all crazy. It's just a different kind of crazy.
I tell people I'm the good kind of crazy. I'm not going to go do anything bad or mess people up or hurt anyone. I just want to, take over the CBD market by doing it the right way, play with my kids, and play golf as much as possible. I'm not that crazy.
Yeah. Not the Tony Montana of CBD.
As the resident psychologist, I'm going to pull back the word crazy a little bit, because I think that has a bad connotation when it doesn't need to. Because I think what we're just saying is everyone's different, and there's things that excite different people and things that motivate different people to do different things. And even in this conversation, all these things that we're talking about that might seem crazy to some people are also things that you guys are saying while you're smiling and joking and having a great time, because they brought good memories. So want to just make sure that we know that that's not a slide on a bad word.
Well, yeah, and that's a great point. And I think the people that do the 100 holes together we all bonded over that. And there's a lot of, and this is not why we got involved in the charity, but there's a lot of business and a lot of great introductions that get passed. And, I was recently asked by, I was on a call with Atlantic Technical College, and they train accountants, and they were talking about, like, what advice can you give these young people that are 20, 21, 22, and how can they get their first job? Because entry-level jobs are tough to get. And I said, well, the best thing they could possibly do is get involved with a charity that they're passionate about, because they're going to make contacts and connections. And, almost everybody I know got their first job because somebody recommended them. It's called nepotism. It's alive and well. If you have somebody say, hey, you know what, Drew's a good guy, you should give him a shot, even though he's got no experience, Drew has a chance of getting a job. So, it's a great thing to get involved with a charity, especially if it's a charity you're passionate about, because then it's going to come off as genuine when you're meeting all these other people that are also passionate about the same thing.
We say more than one thing is true at a given moment, so you can do good and get good from it too.
I feel like we need to loop Nicole back on this podcast, because it's carrying over from that conversation, which is all pretty cool.
Or all you can do is go back and listen to that episode if you haven't checked it out already.
You know what? It's funny. I shared it, but I hadn't even listened to it, because Nicole's a friend of mine. She's like the right hand at our marketing company that we use for our golf brand, PROEDGE CBD. So great relationship with her and Haley and Mike up in South Carolina. So I'm a big fan of Allison South.
There's something to be said about being interdependent with a whole bunch of other people. You can just accomplish a lot more by having a good, solid network around you. And to your point, Drew, I mean, if you're trying to get started in anything, it's great to be independent. Independence is a fantastic thing. It's a lot better to be interdependent, which just means that you're able to accomplish more with the help of other people than you are on your own. And I think most business people recognize that we can't be experts and do everything ourselves. We really need to have a team around us.
That's what's great also about as being an entrepreneur. You have control of who those people you are working with. Now, a lot of times in the corporate world, you're forced to work with certain companies that have contracts, and you can only promote that same brand, use those same companies. And that really limits you because, as Drew was just mentioning, making those connections. Why do we recommend people and people hire the people we recommend? Because we're putting our name attached to that. You're recommending someone, you're putting your own word, and people like your word, and you don't get that in that same kind of way if you don't have more control of your business.
It's a great point. I mean, I can't agree more.
That's right on. Drew, you've got such a cool concept that you're running with, and you're doing it in a really neat way. And it's just a hot industry right now. And I mean, it's going to continue to be for a really long time. So it's like you got in before the wave and you're riding it right now. It's got to be a blast. For all our listeners out there, do you have anything for them? I think you mentioned you've got a pretty sweet deal for everybody listening.
Yeah, so we want to help JB and the doc here, and also get more people to try our great products. So we have if you go to www.hennepx.com, and then when you check out, just type in TC, T as in Tom, C as in Charlie at checkout. You'll get 15% off your whole order.
Don't worry, we will have that in the show notes, so you don't have to memorize it. But you could always go hit rewind and write it down too if you want to do it right this second.
We talk some more.
All right, fantastic. And if you want to connect with Drew directly, he is a part of our Entrepreneur Mastery Lab community. So check it out. That detail will also be down in the show notes. So keep an eye on that.
It's a lot of exciting stuff.
It is.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm having fun, and I had a good time with you gentlemen today.
Drew, we appreciate your time, man. Looking forward to getting back on the golf course with you for like 9 holes or something, not 100. But seriously, man, some great stuff you're doing out there.
All right. Thanks a lot, JB. I appreciate you. Thanks, Doc. Take care,
guys.
There.
As long as there's a beer cart, girl, you'll see me there.
There you go. That's the spirit.
Nice meeting you, Drew.
Same here, Doc. Take care.
Doc, wow, we got a lot out of the conversation with Drew over there. He is involved with a whole lot of things right now.
Yeah, I got tired just listening.
My favorite thing about what he said, we didn't even double click on this. My favorite thing that he said is follow up like a robot. Loved it.
I know you like follow up, but I also know you like robots.
Yeah, he was talking about, he said process, plan, and communication. And I heard in my head pre-game, game, and post-game, and the follow-up's all the post-game. And anybody who thinks the game ends at the point of the transaction or the point of the conversation is just missing the boat. It's everything that happens afterwards that's so important.
Don't know they remember.
So communicate, man.
It was good because we were able again to see the continuity of what we do, and you could see just the connections from our past guests, our current guests, and just the connection that all that stuff brings together. Not only the actual connection of knowing these people and networking and kind of doing business together around that world, but just the same messages. And you can see the success breeds from those same messages. It's like, maybe that's why we say it over and over again.
Yeah. To Drew's point, he talked about what he considers business 101, but it's the simplest things that are the hardest to do consistently. Sometimes it's just going back to basics. You don't have to overcomplicate business.
Those basics are basics for a reason. You need that good foundation.
Table stakes. You don't got them. You can't even get started. It's so true.
All right. Now I've heard you say pregame and steak, so I'm definitely out. My brain has just went to a new place, and it's going to be dinner.
All right, everybody. I'm JB. We'll sell you later.
I'm the Doc. Peace out, yo.